I love my dad, but it wasn't always easy. He was older than most of the other kids' dads. He had fought in Vietnam, so he got a later start on life than some of the other dads that I knew. But because he was in the Army, I was fascinated with anything and everything to do with him being a soldier. Like a lot of boys, I imagined my dad running through the jungle, firing his gun, and saving villagers. He was a hero to me. Most boys think of their father as a hero. We see them as indestructible. But we don't know the pain that they've endured. We don't know how broken they truly are inside. One boy finds out the pain behind his dad's war stories in Dog Tags by Mike Noland. Then, the more I read about Vietnam, the more I discovered how unpopular it was. I learned how much damage it did to not only the soldiers, but to the country. I knew that my dad hadn't waited to be drafted. He joined up right after high school. He wanted to serve his country like his dad did in World War II. Now, being kind of a snoopy kid, I had found some of his old Army stuff up in the attic, and sometimes I would bring it down and ask some questions. He wasn't always willing to talk about it, but once in a while, depending on his mood, he would tell some stories. And the stories he told were usually pretty funny. Like this one time. He talked about how he and his company had come across a monkey that was missing its tail. And this monkey got into some beer and got really drunk and started acting crazy. He started swinging from the rafters in the mess hall and nobody could catch him. Then, it must have forgotten that it was missing its tail, so when it tried to swing by its tail, it came crashing down onto the floor. I guess some monkeys just can't hold their liquor. My dad and I laughed a lot about that one. He never used to talk about the actual fighting, which I thought was strange. I asked my mom about it and she said that he didn't want to relive the bad stuff. It was hard for him to sleep through the night, especially during thunderstorms. He would sit on the edge of his bed and smoke until the thunder and lightning were gone. I had no idea. He always seemed so calm but distant. Sometimes he would get that look in his eye and you could tell that he was somewhere else, somewhere far away. Dad was pretty handy around the house. He would never let Mom call anybody to fix things. He would always say, a man has to take care of his own house. And he would sometimes let me help. One day, Dad asked me to grab some boxes from the attic. And I accidentally knocked over a box, and in the dim light I saw something shiny, and it was his dog tags. But they looked really beaten up, and one of them had a huge nick taken out of it. I thought they were really cool, so I put them around my neck. And I thought, man, would my friends be jealous? Then, when I went downstairs with the boxes, Dad saw what I had around my neck. He stopped and stared for a second. Why are you wearing those? You can't wear those. Suddenly, my dad grabbed the dog tags and yanked them off my neck. That's not some cheap crap from the mall. Soldiers wore those. Men in battle. Don't you ever do that again. Then, he took the dog tags, went into his room and slammed the door. I was stunned. I never meant to upset him. I told my mom what had happened and she said, don't worry. Sometimes he just gets upset. I felt awful. I never meant to set him off. I just wanted to wear the dog tags because they had been his. Mom said, "Do you know why those dog tags are so beaten up?" "No," I said softly. "During Vietnam, your father was a forward observer, which meant he would try and get as close to the enemy as possible, and then radio back their location so that they could have artillery fired upon them. Well, one mission, he was spotted, and he jumped in his Jeep to try to get away, but they fired missiles at him and blew his Jeep off a cliff. He was hurt pretty bad. They sent him to a field hospital for treatment. While he was there, he saw soldiers with horrible injuries, blinded, missing limbs. He didn't think he was hurt bad enough to be there, so he got up and limped back to his unit. He didn't sign up for another tour and was back several months later. He could have gotten a Purple Heart, but refused to fill out the paperwork. But the truth is, a lot of boys got to go home because of him. So he and his dog tags went through a lot over there. I had no idea. Mom hugged me and said, "That's okay. He would never tell you." A few days later, Dad came home from work and said, "Hey, Mark, come sit with me." I thought, now I'm going to get it. He was just looking down at the ground and just waited for him to speak. Then he started. "First, I'm sorry about the other day. You didn't mean to do anything wrong, and I overreacted. I hadn't seen those dog tags in a long time, and they don't hold a lot of good memories. I saw things during the war nobody should have to see. I was standing right next to a buddy when he got shot and died. We were boys, fighting for our friends and families. Many of them never had a chance to get a job, get married, and start a family." As he talked, he pulled something out of his pocket and held it tightly in his hand. Then he opened it. There were dog tags. "I can't change the bad things that happened in my life, and you won't be able to either. I might have been a little tough on you at times, but it's for your own good." He held up the dog tags as he continued. "These dog tags represent a difficult time in my life, but it was still important. I don't want you to ever know pain like that. And that's why you can never have these." He put them in his pocket and brought out something else. "Give me your hand," he said. I put my hand out and he placed something in it. They were dog tags, not his, but new, shiny dog tags. "These are for you. They come without pain or suffering. But at some point you will have some. But a man takes what's given to him, the good and the bad, and makes the best of it." I couldn't believe it, but I saw tears in my dad's eyes. I know that I don't say it, but never doubt that I love you. Someday I'll be gone and you won't be able to ask for my advice or help. But by that time, I hope I've gotten you ready so you don't need it. With that, he gave me a hug and walked into the house. I sat there, speechless. Then I looked at the dog tags and he had them inscribed. I started to cry. It said, "To my son, be the man I know you can be. Love always, Dad."